Welcome to the Sci-Fi Evolution channel. The Ethereum Academy classroom was a bustling hub of activity, a cacophony of clicks, hums, and quiet conversations in languages from across the galaxy. Ethereum Academy was not just a school. It was the most respected educational institution in the known universe, a place where promising young minds, regardless of their background, came together to study, collaborate, and create. Every student in the class represented their alien species, which was a testament to the diversity that Ethereum Academy had embraced. On one side of the room, Saren rose with translucent skin, which slowly absorbed nutrients from a vial that emitted a gentle glow. On the other side, the six-limbed Cathan was in a meditative state, his multiple sets of eyes focused on the lecturer. The classroom itself was designed with seats of various sizes and shapes, each adapted to the unique needs of the students. The academy was known for its state-of-the-art facilities, and this classroom was no exception. It has been carefully designed to provide both comfort and functionality for all students. In this unusual setting, Alex, the only human student in the room, stood out. Her appearance seemed ordinary compared to the vivid manifestations of alien biology that surrounded her. With her short brown hair and simple academy uniform, she seemed somewhat unremarkable, smaller and less striking than the colorful array of scales, tentacles, and bioluminescence that filled the room. Alex was accepted into the Ethereum Academy as part of a unique exchange program between Earth and the Intergalactic Council. Although humans were still relatively new to the galactic scene, they were making progress in demonstrating their worth and unique qualities. Alex was one of the first representatives of her kind in this prestigious institution. Despite being the only person, Alex quickly adapted to the academic environment and made friends with her peers. Her curiosity and tenacity endeared her to some, while others found her insistence on simplicity instead of their intricate approaches confusing. Today was the day of Professor Veal's lecture on gravitonium, a unique substance that is the essential for powering many of the universe's most sophisticated technologies. The whole class was looking forward to the lecture, and the atmosphere was charged with anticipation. The students were looking forward to the demonstration, their eyes glued to the professor's every move. Behind Professor Veal, a robotic arm lowered a large, cube-shaped object onto a reinforced platform in the center of the room. The cube, with its metallic luster, was about 1 meter on each side and seemed to absorb the light around it, emitting an aura of extraordinary density. The robotic arm, despite its strength, moved deliberately and slowly, as if weighed down by the weight of an object. The professor, Vilu, continued, his voice rising slightly, as if to emphasize the significance of what they were about to see. The main focus here is on the importance of understanding the concept of a 1-meter cube of pure gravitonium. The density of this material is such that it requires advanced technological assistance for its movement, and even then it presents a significant challenge. Professor Vilu paused for effect, his eyes scanning the room, picking up on the expressions of his students. Many of them nodded, their various limbs twitching or curling in agreement. Alex watched intently, her curiosity piqued. She had heard of gravitonium before, but seeing it in person, especially in such numbers, was something she hadn't expected. It was hard to describe, but the cube seemed heavy just by looking at it. He had an undeniable presence that made her wonder just how dense he really was. "I'm going to demonstrate our mechanical auxiliary for today," said Professor Vilu, gesturing towards the elegant device that hovered above the cube of gravitonium. This exoskeleton arm has been modified to use telekinetic impulses to lift and move the cube. The problem with gravitonium is its density, which is constantly changing due to its atomic structure. With a simple push of a button, the device came to life, emitting a low hum as it extended its mechanical arms, which began to wrap around the cube. The humming grew louder, echoing throughout the room as the students watched intently. The machine tensed, The hands clenched and vibrated with visible tension. Slowly, very slowly, the cube began to rise, but it was clear that this task was pushing the machine to the limits of its capabilities. The cube was lifted only a few inches before Professor Vilu deactivated the device, and the cube fell back onto the platform with a thud that echoed throughout the room. "As you can see," he said, his voice calm but with a hint of satisfaction, "even our most advanced technology is difficult to manipulate gravitonium." He turned to look at the class. "Even with our advanced technology, we still have a long way to go in understanding this mysterious substance." The students, their eyes sparkling with intellectual zeal. "Now, which one of you is ready to test your abilities with gravitonium?" "What is it?" he asked, his segmented fingers beckoning in an inviting gesture. There was a moment of hesitation among the students. Glorin Sarin slowly shook his bulbous head. Shurak, the Cathan, stretched out two of his limbs, but then withdrew them, having changed his mind. The rest of the class remained silent, their eyes glued to the cube, a mixture of fascination and awe. Suddenly, a hand shot up from the middle row. It was Alex. She was watching the demonstration intently, her eyes locked on the cube, as if trying to decipher something. Professor Vilu turned his gaze to her. His eyes narrowed a little in what could only be described as curiosity. "Ah, Miss Alex, our human representative," he said, with a hint of amusement in his voice. "You want to try the task?" A whisper spread through the classroom. Alex knew what they were thinking. People were still considered a mystery by many students here. Their reputation as creatures that evolved on a dangerous planet was a serious contradiction to their fragile appearance. Now, Alex, the smallest and least noticeable among them, has volunteered to lift the gravitonium block. Alex stood up, her heart pounding a little, but she kept a calm expression on her face. She knew she could fail, as people were not known for this type of task. However, she also knew that people are often underestimated, and that's why she wanted to give it a try. She walked up to the platform, confident in her steps, her gaze fixed on the cube. When she reached him, she knelt beside him, assessing him closely. The material seemed almost unreal, absorbing the light and making it look like emptiness. She could feel his weight. With her feelings pressing down on her, Alex wrapped her arms around the cube, adjusting her grip. She recalled her training on Earth, where she worked on machines with her father, lifting engines and heavy equipment. She knew how to use her body to its fullest potential. She shifted her feet, took a deep breath, and concentrated for a moment. The entire hall seemed to hold its breath. With a grunt of effort, Alex tightened her grip and began to lift. At first, nothing happened, and she felt tension in her muscles. But she adjusted her position, planted her feet more firmly, and pulled again, harder. This time, slowly, very slowly, the cube began to rise. It wasn't much, just a few centimeters from the platform, but it was enough. Sobs echoed throughout the room, and Professor Villa's eyes widened, all 8 of them blinking in unison. Alex felt the weight, more than she had ever lifted before, but she held it there for a moment longer before carefully lowering it back down. Alex lowered the cube, and it landed on the platform with a thud. She stood up, wiping her forehead, her face flushed from the effort. She looked around at her classmates, who were staring at her in stunned silence. Even Glar, who remained mostly stoic, looked visibly impressed, his translucent skin changing colors. Professor Vilu cleared his throat, stepping forward. He began, his voice slightly unsteady, for the first time since Alex could remember. "It seems that we underestimated the human ability to exercise." A wave of whispers spread through the class, this time with a tinge of admiration rather than skepticism. Alex smiled, feeling a sense of satisfaction wash over her. She wasn't the strongest in the room, far from it, but she had just proved something. People, despite their apparent fragility, had a strength that came from a deeper place, a resilience that others might not understand until they saw it in action. When Alex returned to her seat, she felt proud of her achievement. I've heard whispered questions from her classmates about how she did it, what kind of training people go through, and whether all people have that kind of strength. Professor Vilu, meanwhile, seemed to be thinking about something. His eyes were still on Alex. "Perhaps," he said slowly, "we have a lot to learn from people that we haven't thought about before. Miss Alex, your demonstration today was very instructive." Alex smiled again, this time a little wider as she nodded at the professor. She knew that this was just the beginning, and that people had much more to share with the galaxy. She was determined to keep showing it, one test at a time. The days following Alex's demonstration were a whirlwind of curiosity and unexpected attention. The rumors of her deeds spread through the Ethereum Academy like a meteor streaking through the atmosphere, fast and bright, impossible to ignore. Students from other classes, and even some professors, were intrigued. Alex felt drawn to her story, fascinated by the human power that defied the assumptions of so many. The next morning after the demonstration, she entered the classroom feeling apprehensive, knowing that her classmates would be curious. She wasn't expecting the reaction she got, but the moment she entered the room, she was greeted by an amazing sight. All her classmates gathered in small groups, whispering animatedly. Their eyes flickered in her direction from time to time. Glorian, one of her classmates, waved one of his slender limbs at her. His skin glowed with a soft shade of green, a color that indicated curiosity. Alex approached him cautiously. "How did you pick it up? What is it?" he asked in a low voice, the kind that could easily be drowned out by the ambient sounds of the classroom. Before she could respond, Shuayak, another classmate, intervened, his many eyes glittering in the artificial light. "I was thinking the same thing. Your body doesn't seem to have the musculature of strong types. Was it some kind of human trick?" Alex smiled, though she sensed their genuine interest behind their skepticism. "It wasn't really a trick. On Earth, we call it physical training. You see, I used to help my dad fix cars, and it involved a lot of heavy lifting. We humans may not look strong, but we train our muscles to cope with weight over time, and our bodies adapt." Glorian's skin had changed from green to a soft shade of blue, indicating charm. "So it's all about repetition and adaptation?" "Exactly," Alex nodded, her gaze shifting between her classmates. She realized that what was common knowledge on Earth was completely foreign to them. Most of her peers came from species that relied on technology, telekinesis, or natural biological advantages, whether it was their multiple limbs, embedded exoskeletons, or levitation abilities. The concept of deliberately subjecting oneself to grueling activities simply to build physical strength was something that both the professor and the students found puzzling and intriguing as the discussion continued. When Professor Vilu entered the classroom, his presence instantly calmed the room. His elongated figure moved smoothly, his segmented body shifting easily as he glided towards the front of the classroom. His 8 eyes scanned the room, lingering on Alex for a moment before he began the lesson. "Today we will continue our study of gravitonium," said the professor. "But before we continue, I would like to acknowledge Miss Alex's demonstration yesterday." His deep voice echoed throughout the room as he gestured towards Alex, his segmented fingers extending in her direction. Her achievement was a great example of how different species have unique ways of overcoming difficulties. It reminds us that we shouldn't limit our thinking to what we know. Alex felt a warm blush spread across her cheeks as her classmates looked at her with admiration, some with curiosity and respect. She gave a small nod of appreciation, but inwardly she felt a mixture of pride and nervousness. She had never intended to attract so much attention, but now that she wanted to make the most of it. After the lecture, Professor Vilu approached her, his eyes blinking in a slow, deliberate sequence. "Miss Alex, a word if you please," he said. Alex followed him towards the classroom. Her curiosity reached a peak, as the professor, usually reserved and intimidating, seemed unusually interested. As if he had found something that genuinely intrigued him, he began. I must admit, I was quite surprised by your ability to raise the gravitonium. I've been teaching at the Ethereum Academy for many cycles, and I've never seen anything like this before. I would like to know more about this physical training you mentioned. Do you think it can be taught to other species? I hesitated for a moment, considering the question. The idea of teaching aliens how to lift weights and build muscles was, of course, not what I foresaw when I entered the academy. But when I looked at the professor, Alex's expression expressed anticipation as she realized that this might be a chance not only for her, but for her entire species. I think it can be taught, she said slowly. It may require some modifications for different species based on their biology, but the fundamental principles should work for anyone. Professor Vilu nodded his segmented body, shifting slightly. I understand. In that case, I'd like to offer you something, Miss Alex. I would like you to conduct a demonstration for a wider audience, perhaps even a master class, where you could present your methods to other students and teachers. Alex's eyes widened slightly. A master class teaching alien students how to lift weights. The idea was both frightening and exciting. She took a deep breath and nodded. It would be an honor for me, Professor. I think this could be a great way to share more about human capabilities. Great, Professor Vila said, a hint of a smile touching his otherwise serious features. I'll make the necessary arrangements. In the meantime, I suggest you get ready. You may find that many people are eager to learn from you, said the professor, leaving. Alex stood there for a moment, taking in what had just happened. She had come to Ethereum Academy to study, but now it seemed like she was going to become a teacher herself. The next week was a whirlwind of preparations. The academy provided Alex with everything she needed: weights, exercise equipment, and even a holographic display to help illustrate human anatomy and muscle groups. She spent hours working with the academy staff, explaining the basics of human physical fitness and developing exercises that could be adapted for different species. On the day of the masterclass, the training hall was filled with students and teachers. Everyone was eager to see what the person would share. The room was filled with various species, some with exoskeletons, others with tentacles, some that floated in the air, and others that walked on all fours. She watched as the audience's eyes widened in surprise, as many of them were unfamiliar with the concept of strength training. Using one's own physical form to overcome physical obstacles was completely new to most of the participants, as they were used to relying on technology or biological abilities that humans simply did not possess. After her demonstration, Alex invited several volunteers to try it out. Glorin Sarin was the first to step forward. His transparent skin turned into a deep shade of blue as he carefully approached the platform. Alex guided him through the process, correcting his posture and showing him how to hold the weight. She emphasized that it's not just about lifting your arms, but using your legs, body, and whole body in unison. Glorin nodded, his attention intense, and he slowly began to lift the weight. As he moved, a murmur of surprise went through the crowd, and Glorin's skin changed to a vibrant green, a color Alex recognized as a sign of pride. One by one, other students approached, each demonstrating their unique abilities and the strength of their bodies. The towering Yelien, who had to use a modified set of scales due to his enormous size, and the gentle-looking Neurons, whose frail appearance hid an amazing determination. As each of them tried, Alex could see the excitement building in the room. It was more than just a physical exercise. It was a moment of connection, a shared experience that transcended their differences. The aliens were discovering something new about themselves, something they didn't know they were capable of. Professor Vilu, who was watching from the sidelines, came forward as the session was coming to an end. All his eyes were focused on Alex. His expression was one of deep respect. "Miss Alex," he said, his voice echoing throughout the room. "You have shown us that power comes in many forms. You have given us the opportunity to look at the resilience of the human spirit, and for that we are grateful." The room exploded into a cacophony of applause. A strange mix of clicks, hums, and other alien sounds filled the air. Alex felt a surge of pride and achievement as she stood there, surrounded by her classmates and the professor. She knew that she had done something extraordinary, something that would stay with her for a long time. Her heart filled with pride as her smile widened as she looked at the crowd. That was the reason she chose to enroll in the Ethereum Academy, not only to study, but also to share what it means to be human. When the applause died down, students and teachers began to approach her, each with questions and comments. Some wanted to learn more about human biology, others asked about the Earth and its problems, and some just wanted to express their gratitude for sharing something so unique. "Alex, I have to admit, I didn't expect to be able to lift this weight. I always thought that physical strength was beyond me." Alex smiled, putting her hand on his shoulder. "It's not just about physical strength, Glorin. It's about challenging yourself, pushing your limits, and you did it today." Shuayak, nodding, his many eyes blinking in unison, said, "You've given us a new perspective, Alex. Perhaps we can learn more from your appearance than we thought before." Alex looked around the room, taking in the diverse group of creatures that surrounded her. She had come to Ethereum Academy feeling like a stranger, but now she felt a sense of belonging that she had not expected. She showed them a part of her world, and by doing so, she became a part of their world. When the master class came to an end, Professor Vilu approached her. "Miss Alex, I believe this is just the beginning. We can learn so much from each other. I would like to invite you to take part in a series of workshops and a constant exchange of knowledge between the species. Are you interested?" Alex felt a surge of enthusiasm at the prospect. "I would love to, Professor. I think we have a lot to share with each other." Professor Vilu nodded, his segmented fingers interlacing in agreement. "Very good. I'll make the necessary arrangements. This is a life-changing opportunity for all of us." When the professor left, Alex stood there, feeling a sense of achievement and excitement for the future. Her heart was beating with excitement and anticipation when she entered Ethereum Academy as a student. Now she was more than just a student. She was a bridge between worlds, a symbol of what can be achieved when different species come together to share their knowledge and strengths. Looking around at her classmates, they were all excited, and she realized that this was just the beginning of a journey that would take them to places they had never dreamed of.